Welcome to Nugg Talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nugg Talk, a weekly podcast, bi-weekly podcast. We just do it when we do it now.
Whenever we feel like it.
Yeah, whenever we feel like it. Of the NBA, and more importantly, everything going on with your Denver Nuggets in the league. For once, we actually have news, so that's great. Good signs, good signals, and everything like that. So, but before we get started, Phil, how you doing? You doing good? You chilling?
As much as I can, I'm chilling.
But the season's coming back. I have good news for you. At least I'm pretty positive it's coming back.
I hope you're right.
And we can thank Disney for it. The best thing in the world, Disney. We're not sponsored, but we should be.
Sponsored. Hey, Disney.
I would love that. But yeah, we'll get started. So reports have been coming out that the NBA is looking to, at least it's all going in the trajectory of they're coming back, because they are now telling players that they can go and train in the practice facility. Jamal Murray for us and Blacko have trained in our facility. They're calling NBA players back. Like they're going to have a deadline for teams to call back their NBA players who are out of the market. So for us, probably Jokic. And probably a lot of other people. I don't think Gary's in town. I don't think any of our other guys. Paul's here. MPJ, I don't know. Probably back at home.
I assume MPJ is at home, but who knows?
But yeah, so it's starting to go in the direction of their thinking about bringing it back. The most likely location that would be if they did play games is going to be Disney World, and possibly Las Vegas too. We still don't know. But Disney World's definitely the front runner, it said, and it will be closed off to fans.
Apparently, they're prepping all of their hotels for housing NBA teams versus like tourists or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So they're getting it ready for NBA players, just so they don't go like kind of crazy in an isolation type of environment. I don't know the details about whether their families and so on can come with them. I'm just going to say no, probably.
I'm assuming not.
But
which I think would actually be the only hiccup for this getting started. Is players are like, I don't want to leave my family sort of thing.
Yeah, something along those lines. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of these guys want money because they need it.
True.
So they're going to say, yeah, it's okay. And probably come back. But again, there's a lot of details that still need to be ironed out. But like I said, June 20th will be when players are asked to report by, according to the report that came out. By the 21st, the league will begin to ramp up practices with every team's medic and training staff on site, so they'll bring those guys at least as well. And then the things that are still being debated is whether or not they just go right into the playoffs or if they even do like a 5-game regular season. Just like the 5 games that I guess were supposed to happen when it got canceled, do that and then start just to give people basically preseason games. But if they did that, those are actually very important games for us because we're in the 3rd seed, but we're not that far back from the 2nd seed. We're also not that far back from like the 6th seed.
Yeah, so we have to at least stay consistent. It'd be nice if we won all of them.
So that's the thing. I don't know if they're doing it. This is reported that they might do a 5-game continuation of the regular season starting in July. Between the 15th and the 20th, and then from there, the playoffs will go for the rest of the summer until I'm assuming like September, was when playoffs will probably end. There's been nothing about if the first round series is a 5-game series. Adam Silver said in the past they would want to do a 7-game series for all of them, but who knows with, again, the players and what they decide and everything like that. But for the most part, it seems like all the top tier players are on board. It was reported LeBron, Kawhi, Steph, Dame, you name it, Giannis. All those players, they got together on a phone call with the NBA PA, and they said they want to play. LeBron's apparently been already training people at his house with him. Apparently the Clippers have been doing something along those lines as well. We have not, for all I know. All I know is that everyone's been training kind of on their own. But then also just our source on things from Instagram. Monte Morris did 2 pictures yesterday, or 2 posts yesterday. One was saying, I can't wait to come back, him coming out of the tunnel. The other one was like, what's going to be like when we start playing again, and it's just him shooting in the empty gym. So that gives me a lot of inclination that it's coming back. It's probably going to be back sometime in July. So we still have to wait a little bit, but what do you feel about it finally gaining some traction and hopefully ending out the season. I know you were probably one who was like, just cancel it.
I mean, I was like a just cancel it, but I mean, I'm not gonna say no to it. I want basketball back so badly, so if they can find like a safe way to do it, then do it. I mean, it's not gonna be perfect. There's gonna be a lot of issues and like, yeah. I mean, my main thing was like I'm kind of with Shaq, I think is who said it, with the whole whoever wins the championship this year, they're just not going to be taken seriously. Like he said that whoever wins is going to have like an asterisk next to it, and like it just feels different just because of as long of a gap as we've had.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides on that debate. Like obviously, people are gonna. If your team loses and whoever wins, you're going to be like, well, that wasn't like a real thing.
Exactly.
But if your team won, you'll be like, well, that was a harder championship because we did take time off. No one's in playoff shape anymore. Chemistry got all kind of ways fucked up. And it's not even just like the physical side of things now, it's also the mental side of things because you're playing without fans. You're playing in a even playing field throughout a 7-game. There's no home court advantage now. No one has home court advantage in the series if they do start doing playoffs. And then also just like the mental strain of knowing that you're playing basketball games while maybe some of your family members who could be in danger because of the disease, that could be a mental strain as well. So There's a lot to it. I think both sides have a valid argument. I'm more on the side that this is actually a tougher championship to win, especially for us. We kind of got screwed by this because, again, if we only get 5 games to start off and ramp off to get guys kind of back into playing shape and gain their chemistry before they go right into the playoffs, those 5 games are really important for standings. I feel like if the regular season went the normal way it should have gone, we would have at least been very close to getting the 2nd seed. I don't say we would have got it, but we could have definitely been better.
Definitely would have been a lock for the 3rd seed.
Yeah, we would have definitely been better off than we are right now. So it does hurt kind of teams like us and just everyone in general. So it's just kind of two sides. If they do find a way to do it safe, it's no-brainer they're going to do it. They're losing a ton of money if they don't do it. So they're going to find whatever way possible to do it. If they do end up doing the playoffs, I still don't get the whole 5-game regular season thing. I don't understand that because are you going to bring the teams that aren't in the playoffs?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are so many teams who are mathematically eliminated if there's only 5 games left in the season.
Yeah, like the Warriors aren't going to want to play. Like, I don't think they would care to.
Neither are like the Blazers.
I like the Knicks.
I don't think they can make it. So that I think
that part's weird to me, but the playoffs make sense.
I was trying to think of a solution. I have no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, like that part doesn't make sense to me. So that's why that's still up in the air. The playoffs make sense. Just go straight into the playoffs. Start it. Hopefully the first series is not a 5-game series because that would make it really tough on us. Even though we get 3 of those 5 games.
I'm not really optimistic about our series against the Rockets if it happens like this. I think Jokic is going to be out of shape and it's going to cause issues.
Hey, hopefully he's not. We can hope for it.
We all know the truth. Everybody in the world is out of shape, and Jokic is a normal person.
Jokic is.
He just happens to be 7 feet.
Great. He already plays out of shape. He knows how to do it. He has an advantage. Maybe that will be the thing.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong and it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. Everyone's out of shape, but he already knows how to play out of shape, so he'll be fine.
Dominate.
But yeah, I mean, at least it's heading towards the right direction. Basketball looks like it's going to come back, and we're going to have it for summer. And then if we do, I'm assuming they'll delay the start of the NBA season until December. And if that goes well, that will be the start of the NBA going forward every year because they've been wanting to do
like Christmas.
Start. Yeah,
I think they should just do opening night on Christmas. It would already bring a really popular game to even more popularity.
Yeah, I mean they want to get away from the NFL schedule. That just does it right away. I mean, there's still a couple NFL games.
It'll overlap for like 2 months, but
less than what they're already dealing with. So, but yeah, good news. At least it sounds like it's coming back.
That also give us basketball throughout the summer.
Exactly. We'll have basketball throughout the summer, so we don't have to just watch soccer. Because that's who, I mean, if you like baseball. It, sure. Or baseball. Baseball's also really boring. They're coming back, too.
Yeah, everyone's going to come back, I think. The NFL wasn't even planning on delaying anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully by that time,
But
vaccine or something.
But like come June is like when training camps and stuff are supposed to start. I think they're supposed to go ahead as scheduled right now.
Yeah, but training camps are pretty isolated situations.
They are. That's true.
So this won't be fans now, like those open training camp practices and stuff.
Those are fun to go to. It'll be a bummer. But
yeah. But any last things to say on that before we move on to our other news?
Nope, I don't think so. I'm pretty optimistic, excited. It's a sign that things are getting better, and that's cool.
Yes, I'm excited it's coming back, and I can't wait for it to come back. And it's still a good experience for our Nuggies because even if they lose in the playoffs, it's still playoff experience, gives them something. So I'm just excited to see kind of the season not be thrown away because it was a lot of hard work for everyone involved in the season. So, and then coming into our next bit of news, ESPN, they had experts ranked their 1 through 100 or 74 list of all-time NBA players. We're not going to go through all of that because that's way too much. We're just going to do the top 10, and we're going to discuss it, see if we agree, see if we disagree. We'll start off, obviously, number 1 is Michael Jordan for them. Then 2 is LeBron James. Then 3 is Kareem. 4 is Bill Russell. 5 is Magic. 6 is Wilt. 7 is Larry. 8 is Tim Duncan. 9 is Kobe Bryant. And 10 is Shaquille O'Neal. We'll start off with you. What do you think of that list?
I mean, I do think Michael Jordan is the GOAT. I think LeBron is number 2. I really don't know enough about Wilt to definitively say that he's 3, but he's...
Wilt's 6.
Oh,
Kareem's
6. Kareem, sorry, not Wilt. I always get them mixed up because they play for the Lakers.
Yeah.
They're centers that play for the Lakers. Yeah, I do think that's a fair ranking. The only thing I really have any sort of gripe with is that I feel like Magic Johnson should maybe be a little higher, and then on the other end, I agree with the Kobe thing. I think Tim Duncan is a better player than Kobe Bryant all time.
So you think Kobe should be 9?
Maybe, I mean, if you want to make an argument that he should be higher, sure, but Tim Duncan has to be above him.
Yeah. I think, for the most part, top 3, I definitely agree with. I'll say LeBron 2, even though he still has time to go up to 1. Wow. So we'll give him that time.
This is big news, everybody.
But definitely in Kareem's 3, I think Kareem's very underrated. A lot of people don't know that he also has a ton of championships and a ton of MVPs. He's the best big man of all time. He's very underrated. He also made the skyhook. A lot of people don't care, though, because he's not a very athletic player, and he's not a ball-dominant person because he's a big man. People want to see you shoot the ball or dunk it or be athletic. Not saying that he wasn't, but they just don't care about big men. It's the same thing with Jokic. They don't care about big men.
No one respects it.
Except for Shaq. Shaq's the only, person who the media love because he's a funny guy and he has a personality and all those things. But other than that, for the list, I think that I also agree with you. I think Magic Johnson should be 4. I think Magic Johnson also gets very underrated because he did play with Kareem for a couple years, but a lot of the times he did win championships on his own. And as a rookie...
Didn't he win 3 by himself?
I think he won 2 by himself.
2.
And he also won the one way he won with Kareem as a rookie, he won in that game. Kareem went out, and he had 40 points, and he played like center, and he's a point guard. And he did his own mini skyhook. So there's a lot of legendary things with Magic to put him at that situation. Bill Russell definitely should be up there. Wilt should be up there. It's hard to kind of rate those guys because of the day and age they played in.
It was so long ago.
Bill Russell has 9 championships as an NBA player, but there wasn't that many teams. So it's kind of they're good championships, but you don't rank them as high as maybe a championship that MJ, LeBron, or even Magic and Kareem have because they're playing with more teams. The playoffs are longer. It's just a lot different than it was back then.
A whole different thing.
Wilt, same thing, but Wilt, I would say, gets a little bit of a pass because they changed the rules for Wilt because
of Wilt. Yeah,
they were like you can't dunk or something because of Wilt because he was just too good. So
you got to give that respect.
Yeah, you got to give him respect.
He's the first one to change the game.
Yeah, he changed the game. Bill Russell was more of a defensive dominant player. Bill Russell was. Wilt Chamberlain was he changed it. Larry at 7, I think Larry's too high. I would put both Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant ahead of Larry Bird.
I think that's fair.
I don't get why Larry Bird's 7. I think Tim Duncan should be 7. Kobe should be 8. Larry should be 10. And I think Shaq should be 9. I think Larry Bird got very highly rated on this one. He has a lot of achievements. He has a lot of accolades, but I think it's just like the Boston side of things. Like they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
If he did all this on a different team, it probably wouldn't be having as much weight.
He's
as it
still the
does.
second best small forward of all time. I
Yeah.
agree with that 100%. He's only behind LeBron, but like he's the second best small forward. But I just think those other guys have so much more accolades and so much more things behind the resume. Like Tim Duncan has 5 championships. Kobe has 5 championships. Finals MVP is a lot, like 3 for Tim Duncan. Kobe only has 2, but he still has 2. And then Shaq is the most dominant big man that we've had ever. Yeah.
How many rings did Larry Bird end up with? 2?
He had 3.
3.
He also had 3.
I mean, yeah, I think it's fair to put him at 10. I think when you think about like the dominant players, you do think of Larry Bird, but at the same time, there's always was someone else. Like Larry Bird dealt with Magic, he dealt with MJ, a bunch of other players that I don't want to. Isaiah Thomas, Wilt for a little. Wilt, I'm sure.
No.
Not Wilt. I'm sorry. Kareem.
You're mixing them up.
Kareem. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with being 10 and top 10 of all time players. Question for you though, and when it's all said and done, will he still be the second? Like when, I shouldn't say that. When Kevin Durant retires, will he be the second best small forward of all time?
I mean, depends. I'd say Kevin Durant has to win another title because those two with the Warriors,
No one's gonna take him seriously.
they're championships, but they're like, it's like their GM even said. Their GM came out and said that second championship they won, no one really was happy about it.
They didn't think it was fun.
Yeah, it was what they were supposed to do. Like if they lost, it would have been kind of an embarrassment. So that's the thing where it's like no one really even takes, like even the Warriors GM don't take those rings as like valuable as like their first championship in 2015 or even the first time with KD. So I just think he needs to win one more. If he brings one to Brooklyn, then I think he's definitely better than Larry Bird. But if he doesn't, I wouldn't put him up there. He'll pass him in all statistical categories, but I just think impact on his team is like, I would never say Kevin Durant's really been the leader of his team.
It's fair.
I'd
really
say
hasn't.
like he was on Oklahoma City, but they didn't win anything.
Yeah, and like Russ took a big part of that too.
Yeah, and then Steph was
the
Steph's
undeniable leader.
That was Steph's team. He was just there to score the ball. Steph was the leader. He took a lot of step back to let KD have the spotlight and the ego. And even then, KD still feel like he didn't get enough. So we'll see how he does with Kyrie in Brooklyn. They're definitely going to be in the conversation. They should be in the finals next year. They would be my favorite next year and the years going forward, pre-Giannis changes, seeing where he goes and depending on that.
If he
but
leaves, yeah.
Yeah, I would not put KD above Larry Bird until he wins another one.
Besides Kevin Durant, is there any other, not even small forward, any other player who's currently playing right now that you could see, obviously this is all speculative, but any players you could see be cracking the top 10 of all time who are playing right now?
Cracking it all time they're playing right now. The only one I would say right now, just because he has been very dominant, is Giannis. Giannis has to continue going. Kawhi, too. I think Kawhi's in that conversation. But Kawhi, again, it's the same thing with him. His first championship wasn't like his championship. That was the Spurs dynasty. That was Tim Duncan.
He really only has
Parker.
like one that he won.
Yeah, he won that one by himself, which was one of the best runs ever, but that's it.
Yeah, of the people that I could like see doing it, obviously there's a bunch of people that could do it that I'm not naming, such as like Zion. I'm not gonna name him because he didn't play a full season. But like, this guy's too young too. But like, I could see Luka cracking it just from what I've seen if he stays healthy, and then Giannis, and that's really it. To be honest,
those are like the main guys who are on that elite level. But I mean, they even have conversation for people who should maybe have been in the top 10 that are not. Like Dwayne Wade, you can make a conversation for. He is the second
argument.
He's the third best shooting guard of all time, only behind Kobe and Jordan.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
But again, 2 of his championships LeBron helped him get. So you're just like, it's a lot of things that go into it. So, but for the most part, I think the top 10 was pretty spot on.
I think they pretty much got the 10 players. It's just kind of the order.
Yeah, the order is just personal preference at that point. But I think for the most part, they got it right. I would just put Larry at 10. I think Larry's a little bit too high. But yeah, do you have any last things you want to say about that?
Nope, not really. I think I was actually surprisingly in agreement with their top 10 overall. So
Yeah, I didn't check out the rest of their stuff. I know they put Melo somewhere. They put Alex English. Alex English was our highest rated
I think
player.
Alex English was our highest. I think he was in the late 20s.
Yeah, he was like in the late 20s, early 30s, something around there, which is good. He definitely is the best player in franchise history. So at least for right now, Jokic could definitely take it.
That would be great if that changed. I love Alex English, but.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic is on the way there. But they also came out and started doing top fives for teams. Our top five, I think, was Fat Lever, David Thompson, Alex English, Carmelo, and Dikembe Mutombo.
Yes.
What do you think about that top five?
I agree with it. I don't think there's anything you should really replace. You hope Jokic is in there. Did they not put Dan Issel in? I thought they put Dan Issel in.
No, they put Mutombo over Issel.
That's fine. Yeah, I think that's fair. What do you think?
The only thing I would say is obviously Jokic is too young to be considered in this, even though he already has a pretty nice resume. Some people will argue he has a better resume than Nugget Carmelo has, which is very much true.
It is. I agree with that for sure.
But I think Carmelo brought more to our franchise than Jokic has right now.
Yeah, I think Melo deserves to be there, but when overall, I think Jokic is already a better Nugget than he is, despite the fact all Melo did. I mean, besides David Thompson and Alex English, I think Jokic is like already better than the other ones on this list, to be honest. He's not deserving of being on this list yet, but that just goes to show that he will be.
I think that's the one reason there for that. The other is I do think Dan Issel should be on the list, not Dikembe Mutombo, just because Dikembe also had a very short stint with us.
He was only here for like 3 years.
Granted, Dikembe was very good. One of the best defensive players of all time. Helped our 8 seed Nuggets beat the 1 seed Supersonics, but I think Dan Issel also, again, meant way more to our team than any other center has yet.
He played with us for 10 years. I think Dikembe was only here for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and we ended up getting rid of him, trading him. So I think you could put Dan Issel definitely over Dikembe. I also think you could put Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf over Fat Lever.
Mm-hmm.
That's another top-tier point guard that we had for our team. Chauncey is not in this conversation because, again, he was with us for like a year, 2 years and a half. So he's not really in the conversation. But other than that, I think they got it spot on. I mean, they got the 2 locks, which is David Thompson and Alex English. Those are 1 and 2 tier.
Melo's a lock. Melo's going to be there on that list forever.
Yeah. So, like, those are top 2. Those are, like, top 2 tier, like, right there. Like,
oh, yeah. Guys. I mean, those 2 are the 2.
That's, like, 1A, 1B. And then you got Melo and Dikembe. And I think definitely Jokic is going to crack it. I assume, I'm going to still say it, I think he's going to get another first-team All-NBA. So that'll be 2 first-team All-NBAs. He was top 4 in votes for MVP last year. Definitely won't be this year. But he also has 2 All-Stars. So I think he's more than on his way there. So he'll crack this list eventually. But for right now, I think it's a perfectly fine list. I have no issues with it. That team would be fucking good as shit.
It would be amazing.
You have Dikembe making up for Carmelo's lack of defensive ability, and then you have Carmelo and Alex English just making buckets with David Thompson while he's dunking on everyone. We have a really good team, and Fat Lever's just passing out assists left and right. That team would compete definitely with some of the greatest all-time teams, except for like the Bulls or the Lakers or the Celtics. Those all-time teams are crazy.
Insane.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it for the most part that they did that. I'm surprised they even did it for us. So
yeah, it looks like they're doing all the teams, which is impressive that they're putting that much time into it.
Yeah,
they even did a Supersonics one.
Yes, they did also do a Supersonics one, and they changed the Thunder. Did one for the Thunder as well, even though they're low key like the same franchise.
It's just like their starting lineup from the KD years plus Paul George.
Yeah, plus Paul George. This is Serge, James, KD, Paul George, and Russell. That's it. So
funny.
It's a very young franchise, so that's a lot of good players.
It's the same with the Timberwolves. Like, they have Kevin Love, Karl Anthony Towns, and someone else who's like played pretty recently.
Did they not put KG on there?
Oh, yeah, and KG, I'm sure is
okay,
in there.
I would hope so. But yeah, so that's our thoughts on those lists and everything there. Any last minute thoughts before we move on to the topic of the week, which is just reviewing the last, I think, 6 episodes of the Jordan doc that we didn't talk about?
No, I think we're good. We're ready to go. Do you want to just talk about the documentary?
Yeah, we'll just talk about the documentary overall. We don't have to go into episode per episode. So what were your thoughts coming out of just the end of it?
I'm not like a giant documentary guy, but this is definitely like the best documentary I've seen, probably by far. I've watched a few really good ones, and like obviously like Tiger King, everybody's seen that, but like I think this one was just, it was so crazy just to see that, like, something that the thing that fascinated me the most was MJ making up reasons to hate you so he could kick
took
your
everything
ass.
personal.
Everything
personal.
And like you gotta respect it, because it's the thing that gave him the edge, and he was already so good. So
yeah, he took everything personal. Even George Karl just not saying hi.
Just like, for all you know, George Karl just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, he could have just not seen him and stuff like that. But he took anything personal. I mean, he definitely have a competitive drive. Anything from the second finals to his last one that they showed where you were just like, wow, I did not know that he did that, or that was pretty sick?
I mean, just kind of just hearing it from his point of view, really. I can't point anything out specific, but that's mainly just because there was quite a bit of crazy shit that went down.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But the thing that that really got me was just seeing like how often, I mean, it wasn't just Dennis Rodman. Michael Jordan was partying all the time. It was insane. Can you imagine if LeBron James was doing that? He would get absolutely roasted by the media.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you don't have social media. I think the most crazy thing is just like, he did not take care of his body at all, but yet he was still in fine shape.
Insane.
Which just means that he probably worked out super hard, even though he smoked a shit ton of cigars, and drank a lot. That was impressive for sure. I mean, the other thing you mentioned, I think when we watched the last one, was the Game 6, that like last minute stretch, which is definitely, that Game 6 is the best game in my opinion of Jordan's career. It's also, I think that is a very impressive last minute stretch where they're down. I think they're down 3. They're down 3. He scores, steals the ball from Karl Malone, and then goes down and scores again. You seem very impressive. No.
It was insane. I mean, there was a lot of things I watched that just blew my mind. Like that sequence was probably number 1 for me, but just like seeing what he did in the air, you really just kind of see why he got the Air Jordan nickname, because you're just thinking like, I jump up in the air, I'm back in the ground in like -2 seconds. And he was up in the air for like 10 seconds, it felt like sometimes.
Yeah, I said it before on the podcast. He was the first like real like athlete to play basketball. Like there was definitely athletes in the past before, but it was mainly like their stature, not as much like their athletic ability. Like we talked about Wilt, he's just a huge guy, and he's gonna dunk easily on everyone, and he's gonna score left and right, get rebounds left and right. And that was like the first change there. And I would say then you come into the new age of people like Magic and Bird, who are like kind of showing it, but then Jordan takes it over and shows like, this is what an athletic NBA player is. And you see a lot of those people now. You got Giannis, LeBron, Russell Westbrook, Blake Griffin, all these guys who are just pure like athleticism. And like he was the first like model of that. I mean, also he had a lot of skill too. Like he talked about at the end, he just had so much in his head that he knew how to play that he wished he could play a little bit more so he could use the peak of his mind and the peak of his body at the same time. But I think it was definitely a good decision for him to leave on 6. He talked about going to 7. I still don't think that's actually true, that any of them would have came back for 7.
I think it was over. I think Jerry burned that bridge.
Yeah, so like Phil Jackson was leaving no matter what. I do not believe that Scottie Pippen, after everything that happened, would sign another contract with the Chicago Bulls.
He would not sign for anything less than like, I mean, I don't know what the kind of money they were getting, but like a max.
Yeah, I mean, he would get a max for that time. And I also think that there's no way that Steve Kerr would stay on a little after that. I mean, they traded him anyways, but it's just like there's had so many, like I agree with the owner, even though he didn't agree, that there were so many players who just weren't getting value for what they were actually playing. And MJ's like, it doesn't matter, they would all took the sacrifice. I'm like, I don't think they would, because he was the only person who was getting paid what he was worth. He was getting paid the most money in the NBA by that. He was getting like $35 million a year because he kept signing
Shit.
1-year deals, and that's a lot for back then. So like now that's like, okay, yeah, you're a star player, here you go. That's a lot for back then. There was not that much money in the NBA back then, so he was getting paid more than anyone else. I think the second closest player was Patrick Ewing, and he was like at 20. So
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was by far the best player in the league. So I guess you get it.
I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying like you
like,
can't tell your teammates to sacrifice when you're getting
when you're not sacrificing
$35
anything.
million. And you also have a shoe deal behind it and all these other endorsements. Like, I don't think they would have gone for 7. So that's the one takeaway from it. The other takeaway, I would say, is apparently Scotty's upset. That got reported.
Oh yeah, I didn't understand that.
I think it's just because there's a lot of times where they show Scotty quitting on the team, and they make it seem like it's Scotty's fault whenever they lose, and that he didn't have the same like mindset that Jordan had. But at the same time, it's just like he still did show you
Like
well in other situations.
Jordan talked about you like so highly is my thing. Like
Yeah.
he even said like I would not be who I am without Scottie Pippen.
Mm-hmm.
And like I mean it shocked me that he was pissed because when I watched that it completely elevated what I thought of him as a player because I didn't really because like when you're like our age we were like 3 when Jordan retired. So like probably not even and
No,
like
you're like 2,
like
probably
2
or 3.
maybe pushing 3.
You were 3. I was 2.
I might have been. I don't. But like, all I knew was like whenever I thought about the Chicago Bulls, I was like, oh yeah, like I know who Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, but like it's MJ. That's MJ. But
Yep.
now like you actually realize that Scottie Pippen, like we discussed while we were watching, was probably like a top 3 player in the league,
Yep.
if not, and he might have been 2.
I would say the only player he's behind are Hakeem and Jordan of that era. I mean, you could also mention like Patrick Ewing and Reggie Miller. There's a lot of talented players back then, but I think Scotty was very good because he had an MVP case the year Jordan retired the first time, and they almost, some people would say it's a blown call that didn't let them get to the conference finals that year, and they probably should have made it, but they didn't. Granted, I think this is why Sky is upset. In that series, they show the time where he quit because Phil Jackson wanted Kukoc to shoot the shot, which, to be honest, Pippen has no right to be upset about. Tony Kukoc is, like, historically a very clutch shooter.
So clutch.
So there's no reason to be upset about that. But he was upset about that. So I think that's one of the things he's upset about. I think the other one is that Game 6. He made it seem like Scotty didn't really do anything in that Game 6. Like, yes, he was a decoy. He even said he was a decoy. But, like, I don't know. He did way more than I think was shown, and maybe that's why he's upset because it made him look like he quit again in that Game 6.
I guess, but I don't know. It's just weird. I gained a lot of respect for Scottie Pippen, and then he started whining about it. So
yeah, so he's upset for some reason, but who knows? I'm sure they're fine. He's probably just mad at like the director or anything like that.
He's probably not mad at MJ.
Granted, MJ does have a lot of creative license on this, but I don't think in any way MJ meant to make Scotty look bad or make Scotty feel upset. The other takeaways from this can be about that series with the Pacers, which was like basically the finals that year. Like Utah was good, but that they even admitted that Pacer team was the strongest team they faced since the Bad Boy Pistons. So what did you learn about that Pacer team and also Reggie Miller? Because you only know Reggie Miller as that annoying guy on TV.
Yeah, seriously.
And he was actually a very good player.
He was really good. You could tell he was like, I mean, MJ was, but like it felt to me that like Reggie was like one of the like, not the first, but like one of the big volume scorers of that era. He was like
the best shooter of that time.
Yeah, like the Carmelos or I guess Steph, but Steph's a little probably better than
very
Reggie.
similar to Ray Allen.
Ray Allen. That's a good comparison. He's really good. He's a total asshole, but I guess you kind of have to be an asshole if you're going to beat Michael Jordan. That's kind of what I realized from this too, is you have to just be a dick to him and beat him up and try and beat him up mentally, even though no one succeeded in doing that.
Yeah, I mean you can't beat up a guy who just mentally makes up stuff. They also talked about that story where he made up a story about why he scored 50 on a guy who was just on the Wizards after he put 30 on him. It was a fake story. That's a he's a psychopath.
And there was I think didn't that guy used to play for the Bulls?
No, that's a different one. There's so many stories.
Yeah, there's so many times where someone may or may not have said one single word to Michael Jordan. He was like, "Bitch, what?" And
yeah, the one you're thinking of is B.J. Armstrong in the playoffs that last year. He beats them in one game, talks shit, and then they just get swept from there on.
Yeah, you get railed.
It's not smart to talk bad to Michael Jordan. There's multiple people in the documentary who said, I should have just talked nice to him, I guess.
Yeah, like I should have just been nice.
So I do think my main takeaways from it is obviously it's good to see kind of his competitive spirit, his way of thinking, how they kept those teams together. I think that's still the craziest part, and I still, to this day, don't think Phil Jackson or Jerry Krause get enough credit for what they did. First, Jerry Krause created both of those championship teams with those three trios. Obviously, the first one, Jordan, Pippen, and Horace, and then the second one, Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. And then the other thing is Phil Jackson was the catalyst to make it all work, make it all go. No other coach is going to be okay with their best defender going during the finals and doing wrestling.
No way.
Just Phil Jackson's like, he needs it. It's going to work.
Have to do it.
Any other coach would have suspended Dennis Rodman for the next game. He was like, fuck that. Someone's got to guard Karl Malone. I don't give a shit. That's my best hope right there. So you got to give a lot of credit to Phil Jackson. And I think even in that documentary, it said at one point, or he said at one point back then, that no one's going to remember us. They're just going to remember Jordan. And it's just kind of like, that's like a little sad part. It's like no one remembers Phil or Jerry Krause or, the other guys like Steve Kerr. Scotty gets remembered every now and then, but not as much.
Scotty's the closest to being remembered.
Dennis people know more of now, but I would say the avid basketball fan, they're not going to know of Dennis Rodman. Horace Grant, no one knew of Horace Grant till now. So there's a lot of guys who just got kind of lost in the wind. Tony Kukoc. So that's a little sad takeaway from it, but he also mentioned that he was the way he was, and he was as rude as he was, and he was as competitive as he was because he wanted to help those guys win too. Yeah. So you gotta give him credit because he did help.
It worked. So yeah, he is a big reason why Scottie Pippen became as good as he was.
Yeah, he taught Scottie things on the offensive side of the ball, and he was there for little rotation guys. His mindset was very similar, at least when it comes to teammates and trusting them. It's more of a football type of mindset, like a quarterback. Quarterback's only going to pass the receivers he trusts. They usually don't pass to the guys that they're going to drop the ball. Yeah. He had that very mindset in basketball, which I think is very kind of strange, but that was his mindset. You had to show him and prove to him that you could earn his trust, and then he would trust you to make those shots like Paxson and Steve Kerr did. So, I thought that was cool, but overall, yeah, I'd say very good documentary.
Super interesting.
Only issue I had was just the back and forth.
Yeah, the way they ordered it was really weird. They should have just gone in chronological order.
Yeah, because they were doing it anyway.
They said it was the last. They said they said it was the last dance. It was only about that final season, but it was about every season of Jordan's career. Just go in order.
Yeah, they were doing it anyway, so it was just you could have just done it in order. I get it. It was based all around the last dance. I think they did it that way because they have more footage of that final season because it had a camera crew. But even then, I'd just do it in order.
Exactly.
It would have been kind of nicer.
Because there was definitely some times where I was like, wait, what year?
Yeah, I had to keep reminding you. It's we went back in time. We're back. Because if you miss those transitions,
then you're just so confused.
Because Jordan doesn't look like he ages. He looks the same.
He didn't age at all in his career, it looked like. So.
Yeah, so he still kind of
just grew the mustache.
He just has jaundice now. So he's got yellow eyes. He's a Sith Lord. But I would say for the most part, yeah, definitely a good documentary. Brought up a lot of debates again. That's a thing that will always be a thing with Jordan. But you can't deny that he's definitely the greatest competitor of all time, greatest winner of all time. I would say, I'm not going to say greatest scorer of all time. He's a good scorer. But
he's one of the greatest, but he's not the greatest. Who is the greatest?
I'd say if I needed someone to get a bucket, I would probably say KD. Because he can score at any position, anywhere on the court.
He doesn't need to get fouled to score either.
Yeah, he can do anything. So, I feel like KD's, actually the most pure scorer, but, mentality-wise, Jordan takes him, past.
I think it's, if you need someone to go like win you a game before the game starts, go drop 40, it's probably KD. But if you need someone to make that last bucket shot, it's going to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, and I will give the other one to Kobe, even though I don't like Kobe.
I mean, they're the same
RIP,
player.
though.
That's copies of each other, basically. That was also something that was kind of nice. They did a little tribute to Kobe because, like, that was basically his little brother. He's the only NBA player I know that Jordan actually likes that's not signed to his shoe deals.
Yeah.
And now it's probably Luka. Now he's just like, I love that kid. I love you so much. That's like his freaking like golden boy. But yeah, I think it was good to see all those things again. I think it was at least good because he did give credit to some players where it was due, like Steve Kerr, things along those lines.
Yeah, he really did give a lot of props to his teammates, which I thought was kind of surprising.
Yeah, I was also surprised because I thought he'd be like, no, it was just me. But no, he showed the moments that usually Jordan fans of Jordan don't talk about. They don't talk about the Paxson shot. They don't talk about the Steve Kerr shot. They don't talk about those things, and he showed them. So I'll give him a lot of credit for that. And I think also it was just nice and a little tidbit. Steve Kerr's the only 4-time in a row champion.
Yeah, he four-peated because he went
wins 3 with the Bulls, and then the next year he gets traded to Spurs and they win.
Got 7 rings as a player, and then he didn't get 7. He wasn't there from the
No, he
from
wasn't
the
there
get-go.
for original. He had 5 as a player, and now he has 2 as a coach.
No,
So
he has 3 as a coach.
Oh, fuck, he has 3 as a coach. He's at 8.
He has 8 rings. He is almost a full hand.
Yep, so he's also done very well. Again, he's learned from the best, Phil Jackson and Coach Pop.
I was about to say, something else I learned is, like, as much as I love Pop, I think Phil Jackson might be the best coach of all time.
Phil Jackson is the best coach of all time. It's like without a doubt. He created a system that changed the game. Granted, it's
it doesn't work
it
anymore.
doesn't work anymore. And now it's more Pop's system where it's passing the ball, and then now Steve Kerr's system, which is like generation from those. But it's like you got to adapt to the new times. But he was ahead of the time to put them in that situation to also make it so that Jordan wasn't just playing 1v5 every game. Because if Jordan played 1v5, he would not have those 6 championships. He had to learn to trust his teammates, and without Phil Jackson, I don't think he ever really does.
Yep.
So
it's absolutely true.
Yeah,
he really liked Doug Collins.
Yeah, he liked Doug Collins because Doug Collins was going to give him the ball 80% of the time.
Exactly. That's like Doug Collins and like George Karl. Give the ball to Melo.
Oh, yeah. That is something else I wanted to talk about, and we didn't talk about.
Oh, yeah. I have many thoughts on George Karl, actually.
They talked about George Karl in the finals series that they have against the Sonics, and for some reason, George Karl decided not to put Gary Payton, the defensive player of the year, probably the best defensive player, I would say wing defensive player of that time, on Michael Jordan.
Wasn't he one of the best wing defensive players of all time?
Yep, and they didn't put him on Michael Jordan for the first 3 games.
Because he needed the offense.
Because he wanted him to play offense. And that just shows you George Karl, folks. And
George
I'm
Karl.
sure that those things happened in our series.
100%.
Against the Lakers.
George Karl is the most overrated coach of all time. I will never, ever deny that. There might be someone who deserves it, but I don't care. It's George Karl. And to me, it's going to always be George Karl.
He just made a lot of dumb mistakes. I just don't get how you make that decision. Because Gary Payton's the only person that bothered Jordan. I won't say guarded Jordan, but bothered him.
Gave him some issues.
Gave him issues.
Just like Kawhi and LeBron.
Yeah.
But they won because they kept Kawhi on him.
Exactly. Like Kawhi gives LeBron issues. You don't stop those guys. You can't stop a Kobe Bryant. You can't stop a LeBron. You can't stop a Jordan. But you can bother them. Tony Allen bothered Kobe Bryant. That's why the Celtics won in 2008. You use those guys that you have who can bother them. For some reason, George Karl was like, no, we need you to score.
There's such thing as a two-way player, and he can defend and score. Yeah, he'll be a little tired, but it's the finals. You can take a break after the series is over.
Yeah, so that was depressing to see that George Karl is just like, makes bad decisions.
It just there's so many could have beens surrounding George Karl.
And a lot of it came against Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson just had his number every single time.
Seems like it. Seems like he was pretty good against everybody except for Phil fucking Jackson.
Yeah, he lost to Phil Jackson and Popovich. Those 2 guys they knew how to get to him. It's bad. He made dumb decisions. I don't get how you don't put Gary Payton on Michael Jordan just starting off. I still think the Bulls win that series. Because, they're 72-10 that year.
They were going to win that finals.
But it would have been closer, in my opinion.
That's another thing. That team is the best team of all time.
Yes,
I
without a doubt, that team's the best
refuse
team of all
to
time.
hear anything else.
It's not the Warriors. They don't have a ring.
It's not the Warriors. I don't even think the Warriors didn't win a ring, so I don't even think they deserve to be in the conversation.
Exactly. They don't win a ring.
I'd say the second best team of all time. The second best team of all time is probably the Kobe Shaq Lakers.
Yeah, that's probably the second best team of all time. Not win percentage wise.
No,
I think there's
but
another team.
I think the Spurs.
But they were
I think the Spurs have a team with the second best win percentage.
It could be the Spurs. I do
Or
know
third best.
But the Lakers did have the most dominant playoff run. They only lost one game.
Yeah.
And it took AI everything to win that one game.
And then they got destroyed.
And then they got destroyed. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think those are the two best teams. I don't think the Warriors deserve to be in that conversation. Because again, that Warrior team's not even the best Warrior team.
Yeah, exactly. The
It's the next
KD
year
Warriors
team.
would have beat them.
The
But that's
KD Warriors would kick their ass.
I mean, do you think the KD Warriors could beat the 72-10 Bulls?
No, but they would be close.
It would be close because they have all that talent, but also the Bulls have everything they need to slow
They
down.
have defensive players all around, so I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think how anyone can possibly
they
say
don't have
that
anyone
team
that
isn't
can
the
guard
best team
Jordan.
of all time. No.
Klay Thompson's not
Clay would
guarding
get torched. Clay is a great player, great defender. He's way too slow to guard
He's
Jordan.
not going to guard Jordan, so I don't think that would. I think that the Laker
Besides,
team.
they switch Steph on him every time.
Yeah, they would just do that. I think that Laker team is better matchup for them anyways because the Bulls don't have anyone that can guard Shaq. So.
Yeah, the only person that could is Dennis Rodman. There's no way.
Even then, he couldn't guard Shaq.
No
Like
way.
it wasn't
No way.
going to happen.
Dennis Rodman's not big enough.
Yeah, like
No
Shaq
one. One's big enough.
Shaq would just bodied him. Kobe on MJ. That's like MJ's obviously better than that version of Kobe, but that's pretty like nil.
That's pretty much a wash, but like
And then Scotty.
no one. There's. I mean,
Scotty would be the one who have to win that series.
Who's the third person? Who's the third best player on that Lakers team?
Trying to think. For some reason, I want to say.
Is it Derek Fisher?
No, I mean,
Jason
Derek
Kidd?
Fisher was pretty
No,
good.
it's not Jason Kidd. I'm stupid.
I don't know. I want to say like Rick Fox, but I really don't know. I don't know too much of that 0-1 team. I just know Shaq and Kobe. They just dominated. That's best 1-2. That's one of the best 1-2 punches ever. So, I mean, with Scotty and Pippen, and with LeBron and whichever of the ones he's had.
Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, probably Dwayne Wade. But I mean, now it's LeBron AD is gonna.
Well,
be
yeah, AD
one of
is
the
gonna
best
be
ones.
the
That's
best,
insane.
one of the best duos ever.
But
Talent-wise, hopefully not ring-wise.
I hope not. Yeah, that'd be nice. But season's coming back. Everything's happening. Basketball's happening again. We're gonna, if once it comes back, we'll be back to regular scheduled programming. We'll do once a week until we get eliminated. We might take a little break because
There won't be anything to talk about, and we'll be grumpy.
We'll be a little grumpy, but we just want it back. So hopefully it comes back. We don't know when the next episode will come, but it will come. Just be on the lookout for it. Again, feel free to listen to this on Spotify now. It is available there. And then if you want to, please tell a friend about the podcast. Always helps to spread the word. Leave a like, follow, leave a comment, subscribe. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys another time.
Go Nuggets.